Hey, what's up you guys? I am back with another film review for you all, and you know, this film is kind of set in the 50s, so the dress that I'm rocking right now is acceptable. So guys, the film I will be reviewing for you is called The Devil All the Time, and it's directed by Antonio Compas, based on the book by Donald Ray Pollock. Now, you're probably not surprised that I am watching this film and reviewing it because it has the lovely Sebastian Stan in, and if you follow me on any social media, you will know that I am thirsty for a bit of that Stan. Yeah, I'm going to stick with that. Now, before I start this review, I do actually want to say about this film. Now, if you haven't watched it and you're watching this review to see what it's about or anything like that, can I please just say to you that with this film, it kind of handles a lot of dark things. Now, I saw a disclaimer on one of Sebastian Stan's fan pages because of course I followed them on Instagram, but one of them actually had a disclaimer for this film and said about what it handles. Now, I had this preconceived expectation that it's going to be really dark, and to be fair, it is. Like, I can handle it, but you guys may not be able to. Young adults, older adults, children, and I think especially children, we need to be worried about watching this film because obviously, like, it's rated 18 on Netflix, but it's trying to kind of control who watches that because I don't really know how they go about it. And also with a lot of them being Tom Holland supporters as well, which is fine. You can be a Tom Holland supporter, so am I. But you don't have to watch every single Tom Holland film to be a Tom Holland fan. The same with Sebastian Stan. I haven't watched any of his films. Well, oh my god, not any of his films, oh my god. But I haven't watched all of his films, and I think people need to know this walking into it because this film handles a lot of things that are very dark. Basically, I'm a mum, this was my TED talk, be careful. But jokes aside, like, honestly, if you suffer with anything like that, I will be putting links down to like the Samaritans and helplines and stuff, preferably for the UK, as I'm not a US citizen or anything, like, I am sorry. So the film is based around this little hometown called Knockham Stiff and Mead. It kind of switches between the two places because one starts off there and then kind of goes to the other. And yeah, it's kind of like the old Kentucky plantation, my accents are terrible, kind of place, and it's set in the 50s and a little bit in the 60s. And yeah, of course, with it being 50s, I loved everything about the start because it had the music, the dresses, the hair, the car. Everything 50s, I was living for it. And I'm kind of jealous of the person called Haley Bennett who played Charlotte because one, she took my middle name, like, excuse me. Then she tries to be attractive ginger and succeeds at it. Her hair is gorgeous. I tried to do it, but my hair's too long. But like, everything about the start was just everything I like, really. So apart from all that little 50s fangirling over there, like, the start is actually really strong. It introduces a lot of characters. They don't delve deep into them, but they set up characters for like potential storylines, and they don't dwell on it, they don't like slow down the pace, and like, you get introduced to snippets of people like Helen, the preacher, who actually was Dudley from leading Harry Potter, which I did not realise until I looked on Twitter. But no, he's Dudley, and I was like, pfft. But okay, but like, you set up him, you set up Helen, you set up Lenora and like her backstory, and like everything just kind of sets it up, and it actually kind of works and helps because the stories with this is so interlinked with each other, and like, you slowly start to piece everything together, and it's easy to follow, which sometimes it's not when you have a whole array of characters that kind of have to be fully developed to serve a purpose in the actual story. Although there's like a lot of people in this that kind of fit in, I'm gonna stay and stick with the main story, which is Arwen's. Like, we kind of follow him through the majority of the film. Like, he is our protagonist in a sense. Now we see his father and how he meets Charlotte, which is kind of cute, and then we obviously see how Charlotte dies and the emotional toll it takes on Arwen's father Willard, as well as Arwen himself. And it's heartbreaking to watch, really, because like you see both sides of the story. Like Arwen is so distraught about his dog, and the acting from the young kid, oh my freaking god, fair play. Like damn, he can act. I was so invested in his like emotions when he was crying and screaming about his dog. But like also with Bill Skarsgård's character Willard, you see how much he loves Charlotte and how he will do anything, and how even though he didn't pray for a long time, how he goes back to faith and clings onto it and tries to do everything to get her to be saved from this cancer. And it's just a powerful thing to kick off with this story, and it kind of sets a whole tone of like, this ain't gonna be pretty. Now sadly Willard, Arwen's dad, does die. He commits suicide after his mother's death, and he's then brought back to his grandparents. And like we're introduced to a grown-up Lenora. Now stuff kind of starts to interlink a little bit more, so we get introduced with Robert Pattinson's character, the preacher, and he starts to kind of get a little bit creepy with Lenora, and it's kind of uncomfortable to watch because it's very predatorial, and sort of he kind of feeds on their sort of vulnerability, and they're willing to sort of devote themselves to Christianity. Although she seems happy to do it, you know full well that he's just manipulating her to get pretty much sex. But with that, she is then pronounced pregnant, and this is the horrifying part of this film. Like some scenes in this film felt very uncomfortable to watch, even for me. But this, it just had this visceral response with me that I kind of just gasped. Like, I don't really want to spoil it, but I'm going to spoil it for you. Is basically after she finds out that she's pregnant, she goes over to Robert Pattinson's character, the preacher, and he's like, oh, you're delusional, you're a whore, you're gonna have a bastard of a child, and all of these horrible things. And he's like, oh, it's just illusion, I didn't do anything, I'm not the father. And it's horrid because you can see the mental impact that it's had on her. She's a young, vulnerable girl, and he is just full on like manipulating her and then kind of discarding her and not taking any responsibility. And she goes to go and kill herself, and this is a scene that, again, I just had a visceral response to, because you see her and you know what's going to happen, and then they have this narrator that says, but she realizes that she doesn't have to do this, and that the grandmother wouldn't be ashamed of her, and she goes to like get all the thing, and she slips and sadly dies. And to be fair, I think I was emotionally invested in her character because, like, I'm young, you know, like, you always kind of idolize these people a lot more, and you are in a vulnerable state. And especially with the actress as well, like, her name is Eliza Scaling. Sorry again if I butchered names, I'm terrible. But she's in Baby Teeth, and I watched that at London Film Festival in 2019. Her acting in that film, again, left me in a speechless, upset, like, mood that when the film ended, me and the person I was watching it with, we just kind of sat there and we just had to let it set in. And I think her acting, or the roles that she must take, are so, so powerful, especially with Little Women as well, when she plays Beth. It's the same thing. She has this way of making you feel so much emotion, and she can convey that so well. So obviously with Arwen and Lenora being very, very close and almost like brother-sister like, he goes and revenges her death. Now we kind of see where everything starts to link together, and sort of like sort of suspense starts to build up. And I kind of liked it because you know that, like, different people are involved and who they are and how they relate to each other, that you know that certain events will happen that he will be introduced to these people more, and you know what's going to happen. And although I hate predictability sometimes, in this film it kind of worked, because as soon as his car broke down, I knew full well that he would be with the photographer and the woman whose names I forgot, I am sorry, and he would be picked up by them two, and like I knew that was going to happen. So when it happened, I didn't go, called it, you know, predictable, ugh. I kind of was like, oh shit, what's going to happen? The intensity started to build up. So with that, I kind of wrapped that a little bit up and kind of put it to a side now. And I'm going to talk about kind of things that I liked, kind of delve deeper into more of the acting, and as well as sort of the cinematography and everything of it. Now, first I'm going to kind of delve deep into Robert Pattinson's character, because there's kind of a lot to unpack. Now, I've already kind of said about how he's a manipulative scumbag and a sinner, and he preys on vulnerable young girls, but you know, we're just going to kind of pass that a little bit because I've said that a little bit, but I'm just going to talk about his acting. Now, there's a term called overacting in like films and in performances, and it can be criticised sometimes, and I think Robert Pattinson is overacting, but although his accent is very much like Oscar Nunez from The Office, his little plantation, I can't do it, I'm terrible at accents, a bit kind of like that, a bit too over-exaggerated, and that's pretty much what overacting is when you take a characteristic but you over-exaggerate it more than it needs to be, and it kind of just gets a little bit hokey. That's what his acting and his accent felt to me. But it works for his character, because he is such a delusional man, and he is a sinner and a manipulative man, and he's trying to convince these people about the Lord and the Saviour and about being a good devout Christian when himself is not. But it's because of how he is that the overacting kind of works, because he's trying to hide the bad side of him. He's trying to have this false facade. He's almost like Jekyll and Hyde. He has this good persona of him where he's this devout Christian, but on the other side, he is this sinner and this manipulative person who has affairs and who is a cheating scumbag. And he knows that to hide this part, that's a real big part of him, he has to really over-exaggerate the good part to manipulate these people into trusting him, to then become the Hyde part of him and sort of, you know, feast kind of thing, you know. He's not a vampire in this and he doesn't glow, but like kind of, you know, maintain his bad side of him whilst maintaining the good side. And Tom Holland, like I've said multiple times throughout this, he isn't your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and he's not. Like, I'm so proud that he's took this role as well, because he is that cute little baby-faced man, and like to see him sort of like hold this gun up, be this tough man, like getting bags around someone's head and everything, it's like holy moly macaroni. But like there's still that vulnerable side and that childlike scaredness about him. Like when he's holding that gun to the preacher, like he is full on shaking and he's scared to do this. He has sort of a vulnerability that makes you forgive him. Like, you've seen him as a child and the hardships that he had to grow up with, and also what was installed by him with his dad saying pick the right time and stuff. Like, you can see where he is mentally and why he is affected with this. And that's what I'm saying with these characters. Although some of them didn't get a lot of screen time compared to Arwen's character, they are so fully fleshed out that you can see the horrible manipulative side of them, as well as kind of having a just reason for them. Like, you can kind of understand some part of it. But I would really like to see him in more roles like this, because I do think like it is a different sort of challenge for him, and I think he really strived in this. Now, of course, I would not be staying true to my brand if I did not thirst over the only man that I truly love more than anything in this world, and it is, of course, Sebastian Stan. Like, the thirst is real with him. But anyway, in this film, like, it's not his best performance, I wouldn't say, but that's only because maybe he didn't get enough screen time. But the cheeks were a bit of a weird choice. Yeah, it was a bit of a weird choice because they kind of was overstuffed. It looked like a squirrel, like, stocking up for the winter. He's kind of a bit up. I can't swing it, like, really uptight, like that. And, like, don't get me wrong, I love a smooshable face, and if anyone knows me, like, I want to just smoosh your face. It's like, oh, look at it, and I want to boop your nose. But it was a weird choice to have him like that, but okay. But also, it's kind of weird to see his face after getting a lovely handshake from a woman in a car. Yeah, especially when in the background you had, well, by the actual thing, you had your own Sebastian Stan, and it's like Sebastian Stan on the screen getting a hand job, whilst your own Sebastian Stan just kind of smiles and just kind of it was just very weird, you know. It was just kind of a bit like, I should not be seeing this. Oh, fuck, he fell. Oh no, don't fall. Okay, no, we got him. It's fine. It's okay. But yeah, so that was a bit of a weird experience, and great acting, I guess, in that. I spent 2 minutes talking about Sebastian Stan. This is terrible. But this is the content that you get from me. This is me. I'm a thirsty person. Give me some of that Sebastian Stan, please. And I just realised my family watches this, so I may have to edit this. Hi! Now, apart from all of the thirsting, I got kind of carried away a little bit there. I'm going to go on to cinematography and pacing. And you know what? There isn't actually anything to say about this. Like, the film is paced relatively okay. Like, it does plateau a little bit. In the middle, it kind of does slow down. It does start to begin to increase a lot when the suspense comes in, and after Lenora's death, it does kind of start to fatten up and you start to get more invested into it. As for cinematography, it wasn't anything dynamic or anything sort of distracting. It was just what it needed to be, and it's like a grounded, real story. It's not some weird time reversal thing like Tenet was, where it needs to be experimental and sort of dynamic and, oh my god, like this was just a little self-contained film. So that is my review of The Devil All the Time, directed by Antonio Campos. I keep saying compost, and I don't think it's compost, I think it's just compost, but no T on the end, but like, I don't know, I can't pronounce things. But anyway, yes, so I hope you enjoyed this review. It's good to come back. I did say I would be back, and I am back. And I'm kind of wearing a dress that I realised didn't actually fit me very well, so I'm having to keep pulling it up, so I'm sorry. I mean, you don't have to subscribe to my OnlyFans, I guess, if I ever have one. Just watch this video. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this review. If you want to have a talk with me and discuss this film or discuss any other films that you think I should be watching, preferably in 50s, so I have more excuses to review in the 50s dress, because damn, I feel way overdressed, but I'm living for it. But yeah, so any film recommendations you have for me, any video recommendations if you want me to talk about what I was watching over the lockdown. I am going to London Film Festival as well as press, but it's going to be online viewing, so I don't know how many films I'll be able to see, but the ones that I can, I will either do small blog pieces with them, or I will be on the podcast with Cinemania World, or I will be reviewing them in front of your lovely faces. Well, it's a camera, but technically your face is looking at this, so your lovely face. And yeah, so there's going to be a lot more coming in a few months, and I'm kind of excited. Like, I don't know what to do, and like I'm really hungry and my belly's starting to rumble, so I'm gonna have to wrap this up or else I'm just gonna keep talking. So anyway, talk to me on social media, links down below, keep reading my blog. I don't know what else to say. I enjoyed this film, I liked it. Bye!